Hey everyone, Jay from Lords of War here today, and today's video, well, it's finally here. We got the Old World rulebook, the return to rank and flank square-based Warhammer. Yeah, so a couple of videos ago, I did one kind of showing off my 8th edition limited edition rulebook. So I figured I'd do something similar here, although I have gotten to flip through this a little bit, but so yeah, so if you're looking for like in-depth analysis, not really. Like I'm not going to like I don't know, do a full flip through. Like I'm sure you can find a jillion videos on that. This is going to be kind of like just some of my thoughts, how this book maybe differs or compares to the previous one. Sorry about the glare. Just the front cover is super shiny. But anyway, let's get into it. So I like this. This looks really cool. The whole map thing is one of the first things they showed off. They really wanted to focus on like not just the old world, but specifically the old world within the old world. So you've got your, your empire, and what do you got? Where the Wood Elves are from? Athelloren, Bretonia. Vampire counts apparently somewhere here. If they were not a PDF army. The Border Princes, Chaos comes out of there. So yeah, that's a cool map. I like that. Overall, I think the book is quite nice. Only 350 pages this time. A lot of what I saw in this book reminded me of the kind of structure or rule set structure of the Horse Heresy version 2.0 that came out last year. So, as in just kind of the way they write the rules, like how you reference the rules, things like that. Actually, I would like to read some of this. This is some history that is like kind of interesting because it's the setting is supposed to kind of take place, quite a while before the events of 8th edition end times or whatever. So actually looking forward to that. So overall, like the presentation, solid. They brought back all the classic arts. There's probably some new ones in here, but generally speaking, they just used up everything they had. Even some of these reliefs, I'm not sure even that new, but I mean, there you go. Those are your witch hunter or whatever he is. Looks awesome. So let's see if we can get into some of the rules, the meat of the book. Oh, Lords of Ulthuan, that's cool. Oh, there you go. Yeah, lots. See, they kind of really loaded the front of this book with the fluff to kind of change it around. So you gotta go a little ways. There you go. It's a classic one there. I think this was Battle for Skull Bass cover. If you guys remember that box, one of the best first big value boxes starter sets they ever made, where you got some new little dwarf sculpts and like 60 or 80 goblins or something, night goblins. And I remember this distinctly because when this came out, and I worked at a Games Workshop at the time, early in my Games Workshop career, this was a game changer because it was like at the time it was like $60 Canadian or something like that. It was priced in such a way that you could basically throw it at people and they would buy it. So yeah, it was just, that was their attempt to really bridge the gap and try and make Warhammer Fantasy accessible. So that was good because you got like basically 80 or 100 models for $60. It's pretty sweet. All right, here we go. Into the overview of the game rules. Excuse me. So your dice and templates. This is also difficult because for me personally, because I have to kind of like filter through the additions in my head that are still apparently there. I thought that maybe I lost some of them over time, but excuse me again. But no, it's I had to do a lot of page flipping to kind of be like and rereading and things like that. Off the bat, there are some like pretty significant differences. So quickly, for those of you that played 8th, this is not 8th edition. It really is more of a hybrid of 6th and 7th. You could call it 6.5 or 7.5. Someone said 6.9. It's it's in there, somewhere in there. So what does that really mean? It comes down to there's like some very specific things, and I would say one of the first things off the bat is the fact that you don't get as many ranks of dudes fighting standard like normally. So what does that mean? So normally in editions like 6th or 7th, you were just basically fighting with the front rank, and sometimes the second rank if you had like spears. But yeah, otherwise you were just getting like, you know, maybe like 6-7 attacks out of your blob of guys, and that's it. You know, you got your champion, if you had any heroes. So it wasn't a lot of dice being rolled. A lot of it was like, you know, most of the games, like, damage occurs in the you know, charging and winning a combat and breaking a unit, and then that's where like you could score lots of points. Yeah, a lot of this movement stuff is not super different. In fact, some of these graphics are just literally ripped from previous editions and books, which is kind of cool. Keeps it looking and feeling like it did. So that's one thing right there. You have to get used to. And here we got some of these like funny situations. I do know they really tried to like use some of the more modernizations of, like, you know, measuring closest to closest and things like that, and trying to give you ways to like how these things should align and whatever. And there's some unique new things. For example, there is, we haven't gotten into it, but there's a special rule called countercharge that certain units have. And that is kind of interesting. It enables a cavalry unit to, like, under the right conditions, there's a whole paragraph of conditions you have to meet. You can basically, like, if you're being charged by cavalry, your cavalry can countercharge them, and then you both move a bit and charge in the middle and meet somewhere in the middle, and you're both candidates charging. So that's pretty interesting. So what differences we have, like things like brand new special rules like countercharge. You have like back to fighting with, like, you're not throwing a lot of dice. I think even some things like rank bonus is like capped at +2, things like that. I haven't double checked. I don't believe I read a rule. We'll find out later about things like steadfast. So that was a big deal in 8th edition. It had to do with, like, if you had more ranks than your opponent, if you maintained more ranks, then you got like, you basically didn't have to modify your leadership when you failed a break test. And so people would take units that were, I don't know, or if it had to do with being 10 wide, I don't know. People would take units that were like literally 10 models wide and like, you know, 5 ranks deep. And it was like, the idea there was, it was very hard to remove complete ranks. So as long as you had those, you know, complete ranks, then it was hard to break you. So that, I don't believe that exists in this game. Here's another big one. This, who strikes first? So in most of Warhammer's history, it was like, you know, if you charged, you generally went first. Some exceptions had to do with, you know, 8th edition fantasy, for example, which was maybe 7th as well, was like initiative based. No, I think it was just 8th. So if you had higher initiative value than your opponent, and even if you were charged, you still went ahead of them. Here, the way they do it is for every inch that you charged up to a max of a total bonus of +3, you got an extra initiative. So if your base initiative is like 5, and if you're an elf basically, and you just charged at least 3 inches, then you will be counted as initiative 8, and that's how it'll determine. So that's kind of interesting as well, how that goes. So that's something a little bit getting used to. I don't know if I love that. It seems to me like it's just like a weird, like, complicated way of just saying you're going to go first most of the time. But I guess they wanted to reward certain situations where you have a chaos or elf lord or someone who's just naturally initiative like 7 or 8 or something dumb like that. And so even if they're charged, they'll go first. It's interesting. The other thing, actually, I skipped over a little bit in the movement rules, that is, or prior to the movement rules, that was pretty interesting, is there's these things called formations. There's like a combat formation and a marching formation. And basically the combat formation is something to do with basically if you are wider than you're long or whatever. So if you are like 6 models wide and you're only 4 ranks deep, then you're considered combat formation. So you get your rank bonuses and fight like normal and make charges and things like that. If you make a bus, which is what we colloquially used to call it, where you go, like, let's say you're only 4 models wide, but you're 6 ranks deep, then you're in marching formation, which has some interesting bonuses, but big drawbacks. I believe you can't charge, and you don't get ranks, and some other pretty savage negatives. But you get to triple your movement speed. So that's interesting. I don't know how much I would like to use that personally, but I mean, you could potentially move quite a bit up the table with that. So that's an interesting rule there. So here's a big one. This is probably the biggest key signature change to Warhammer that at least in my opinion. This is probably from an edition. Maybe I didn't play it. I played very end of 5th. I played all of 6th quite a lot. I played 7th a lot. I played 8th a lot. So basically the last 3 or 3.5 editions, spanning I don't know, 15 years or whatever at the time. And this didn't exist in then. So this is the whole thing with, so traditionally for a long time in Warhammer, if you charge your opponent, you roll your dice, you fight, and if you win combat by a few points, let's say you win by 2, your opponent would take a leadership test at -2 to the roll. If they roll over that number, their unit breaks. So then you both roll. You can then decide to pursue. If you match or beat your opponent's number, you run down the whole unit. So it was quite deadly, basically, because yeah, you could like effectively, you could effectively destroy whole things in one motion. Now they have this like falling back in good order. So the way this basically works is, same scenario. You lost combat by 2 points. You had to take a test. You take a break test. Now, if you roll your break test, and regardless of the modifier, -2 or whatever, you just roll your base leadership. So if your base leadership is 8, and you roll an 8 or less, even though you're -2, you lost by 2 points. You still kind of push away, but it's not a full fallback or whatever. So you're basically you take the 2 units, your opponents and yours, and you kind of just slide them over and separate them. And so that's interesting. That's different. So that they're trying to create a situation where there's maybe less moments where the players feel like, oh, something unfortunate happened, or a lucky thing, you only won by a point and I rolled really badly, and it's trying to mitigate scenarios where thousands of points of models are run down over small, like tiny margins of victory, I guess, is my thought on that. Now there's ways around this actually, which is I find interesting, because this I think the smart competitive players will find ways and build unique units, sized units and things to get around this. But now that being said, there is still a traditional break and flee in that, but you have to roll over your base leadership. So again, back to the scenario of your leadership 8, you'd have to roll a natural 9 or 10 or whatever, and then regardless of what. So to me, it's a little weird because it makes the combat resolution feel like it doesn't matter as much, because you can still kind of fall back in good order and not be completely hosed. But going into the caveats, so for example, there is something, and I don't remember where it is, if it's in here or it's on one of these pages, but it has to do with if you are double the unit strength. So I think it's here. It is actually, this is the problem, is it's like buried in this little subparagraph. So basically it says, however, if the winning side outnumbers the losing side, it will overwhelm the loser. And then it goes on to basically, I'm going to paraphrase, basically says, if the unit strength of the winning side is basically double the losing side, they'll just take a straight break test without, like we just, so they won't get to fall back in good order. So now I'm thinking of like, oh, these are like fat bricks of 40 guys or whatever. That's pretty substantial. So you could do some calculations ahead of time and figure out like, well, if I can like, I was already thinking, I'm like, what if you even just take 20 or 30 cheap guys and jam him somewhere in the front or wherever, and then if you can get a fast mobile character to slam into the side, maybe he's on a Pegasus or something like that, you just need to win by a little bit, by 1 or 2 points, and have a few more guys. You have like one more, have more guys than your opponent. It's not one more, it's twice as many. But if you can do it right, you can potentially just outright break units. So that there's that. But I noticed that the reason that I thought about it, I'm like, why do they really need this provision, and I realized it had to do with things like later on when you get into the army list building, things like Chaos Lord on Dragon, who has like a jillion attacks, obscene toughness, high strength value. Like, that guy can roll in and just wipe a front rank. No one's gonna touch him back. The poor champion's just gonna like futilely wave his arms and be lucky if he does a wound. And that Lord on Dragon will be winning combats and breaking units pretty well, but they have to be careful, because if a model like that whiffs and they lose by a point or two, they'll just break, because they'll always be double. They'll be outnumbered 2 to 1 or whatever based on unit strength. So that's interesting. That's a kind of a cool thing. So these are some things I've just kind of like got from just like going through. Like, this is a ton of stuff that needs to be like carefully read through, you know, because there are all these situational situations that can come up, and this is the difference between a player who will like do really well in a game and a player who will kind of like just, you know, maybe struggle, because you can gotcha people with all these like tiny like heavy casualties. Like, what does this mean? You know, if you do more than 25, okay. Oh, they use just fancy words. They could have just said take a panic, just regular thing. But anyway, more cool art. Here we go. We got the special rules. This is again just like in the previous book I mentioned. There's your counter charge. This is the other one that bothered me, the nested rules. So I read about a chaos unit that has the rule drilled, and it says this is great. Now go look up something called redress the ranks. So then I had to go and like look that up too. This is also going to throw people off the like armor bane, because you have like regular like weapons will have a negative modifier. So a weapon could be strength 5 and have a -2, and then armor bane will be like if they also roll 6s, they'll add rending. If you're familiar with that. But for the most part, it's like I said, you'll recognize a lot of it. I think the big changes are going to be in the combat. And so the combination of like low attacks and the falling back in good standing are going to make games actually it's going to take some time. I think it's almost as if they wanted games to be decided further in the game, like that they wanted more things to happen in turn 5 and 6, etc., rather than potentially having like a turn 1 or 2 explosion happen where a guy gets a crazy charge, wins by 1, and destroys a good chunk of their opponent, and then causing all these rippling effects that are hard to come back. So what we call a re-rack scenario, where you just re-rack the armies and start over. So this will have less of that, I think. So there you go. There you go. You got more. Oh, the skirmisher rules. This graphic has been around for like, my God, yeah, at least 25 years or whatever. They've been using the same one. Skirmishers were always the most pain in the ass, because you have to like what do you do about that? You have to take this and turn it into a form up somehow that isn't, you know, egregious. Or here's, what if they're both skirmishers? How do we do this and make it fair? You know, so they do have some paragraphs in the rule book with definitely that I've read where they're kind of like, hey, be nice to each other, you know, to try and get the both players to deal with some of these like fudgy scenarios and just be gentlemen about it, because like it's hard to do this in an equitable way, because units aren't even ever positioned like this. Like these guys could be all slanted and turned in all kinds of directions, because they don't have to all face like at each other, the skirmishers. So how do you even do this? With like, this is the perfect, this scenario is never happens like this. So just kind of one of those things, you know, if you play this game for the first time, just, yeah, you're gonna be okay with fudging some things, and it'll be fine. The game will be fine. Yeah, just it's tough because these rule sets have like so many. They're trying to explain everything that you can come across, and so sometimes players are like, well, if it doesn't say it in the book, it has to say it in the book to allow you to do something, and it's like, excuse me, okay, but you know, some of it does require a bit of like, hey, it's a game. So yeah, continuing on, pretty standard stuff. I'm gonna try and skip through a little bit more here. We're still going, by the way. Now we're into characters. Lone characters. targeting lone characters. Evade, I don't even know. What the? Okay, I'm not even sure how that's like. That's interesting. That's new. What else? What else? What else? Measuring. Nowhere to run. Oh, this is for challenges. Yeah. Then now we get into the weapons, right? So here's the unique things, right? Like a great weapon's a very interesting, very common weapon. I like that range combat. You get strength +2, -2 to save. So that's pretty standard stuff. So before the great weapon, it was always based on, or anything was based on your strength. So if you had to be, if you're strength 4, you had -1. If you're strength 5, -2. So it all was predicated on your base strength. Here it's just flat, which I think is smart. And then you got like the armor bane. So there's your roll a 6 to wound. You'll get an additional. It'll be -3 and still -2. You know, so they've really made some of this more granular, and I think you'll see some of these things be a little more like the flails, for example. Let's see, the flail's like a great weapon, but without the armor bit. You know, these little, it allows them to add little nuances to these things that maybe didn't exist before, which I think is actually pretty nice. Longbow, shortbow, warbow. Yeah, so they're all slightly, you know, some quick shot. Probably means you can move and shoot things. Unusual armor. It's a lot. Okay, so let's get to, let's skip through this and get to the gallery, which I think is quite nice. Okay, I'll get into this. This is something I noticed, and you know, you can tell me how you feel about it. But basically, this just looks beautiful too, by the way. I've noticed in these gallery photos, they went really out of their way to really be like, no, it's all about the old, which is fair. So, I mean, this is all like circa 8th edition anyways. But, you know, I'm assuming those are going to come out, I guess. You know, they're not reusing anything that could be like, there's no Cities of Sigmar or anything in here that could have been used. I don't want to even hint about using anything. So I think that was a bit of like them trying to really listen to the, you know, what I call the old world or Warhammer focus groups. And I think the consensus was like, no, we want the classics. And that's cool. That's what the people wanted. That's what they got. I thought maybe there would be some crossover from a business perspective. You know, why not sell models to both player bases? There's your Treekin. My other thing, and I've said this in other videos, and I know people are like, it's not true. I'm like, what? It is true. And until they put some of this on made to order, it is going to continue being true. So this is a page that upsets me slightly, or perturbs me, in that, like, if you're new and excited about this, as of right now, as of this book being out, you basically can't buy any of this. You can't, like, if you go to the warhammer.com website, web store, none of this beautiful Wood Elf army, circa, you know, this is a mix of 6th, 7th, and 8th ed models, are not purchasable. This is a special edition model, which I'm curious if they'll release. He came in a $350 army box in like 2003 when they redid all the Wood Elves. You know, like how I'm assuming they'll do a made to order blitz of all these, but like these War Dancers haven't been available to buy for like 10 years. Like even these, like these were the last things still purchasable up until a certain point of like last year or whatever. And then like these Glade Rider, not these guys have been also retired, maybe because of mold reasons or something, for so long. So this is the thing that I hope that I'm sure will be resolved in the next you know, in coming months. But it would have been really nice if we could day one log on and just start buying these things so you can add your armies. You know, obviously if you still own this army, awesome, you get to play it, you get to enjoy it. But if you're a newer player, it's and then here we go, same thing. Nope, not available. None of this. I can't. No, literally none of this is. I mean, units like these guys, and they're not even pictured in here. The Phoenix Guard were still purchasable up until a year ago. Also, these damn Sky Cutters. Super cool, wacky mod. It's a little boat, literal boat that with an eagle pulling it. What a disaster of a model to try and transport. These stupid. It has 2 points of snapping, and a little piece of plastic rope that is holding the boat to the anyway. I had a couple of these that I used. They were fun to play with, but what a disaster to transport. Well, we know we're getting these soon, so that's good. They had a whole spiel about this, so these are the next guys up. All of this on this page is going to be available, so that's good. Incoming soon. Here's your orcs. Here's your dwarves. Yeah, you can actually buy a lot of this. So this is a good army to start with, sort of. Because I believe you can, yeah, the warriors / quarrelers, the longbeards, hammers, and the Iron Drake / Iron Breakers are all purchasable. They're in the Cities of Sigmar army, so they're part of the AOS range, so you can just buy them. And then you just got to buy the appropriate bases. Something to keep in mind is, then we'll see how the community takes it, but you go by the unit profiles in these books, in the rulebook, in the unit bestiaries or whatever you call them. You know, all these are on new bases. These are all 25 mil squares rather than 20 mil squares, which all these guys used to be on. So keep that in mind. If you have an old army and you want to play like match play or whatever, and this book specifies it, and the other book they all say no, you need to use the proper base, or at least the rules in this book are written with that in mind. Yeah. So I've had some scenarios here at the store where people are like, oh, I can just take my old army and play, and I'm like, I'm like, have you rebased it? And then they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, and then I show them the PDFs and any of the profiles, and they're like, oh, and yeah, so yeah, so I don't know, get on the website, order your bags of bases, or get us to order them for you. I've ordered some; they're slowly trickling in. There's your Tomb Kings, look great, really cool terrain. I like that. He looks awesome. Every time I look at this model, I'm like, what a fantastic job. Wish he existed in the previous edition, but that's okay. Chariots. Chaos, this is another one that is actually really drove home that the intent is to really double, triple, quadruple down on the old stuff. So these knights have modern equivalents in AOS that look, in my opinion, better than these ones. They're bigger and just more savage looking, but they were like, no, we want them featured. We're going to release the old ones. There's also a modern Chaos Warrior with new halberds and everything that you could use. Nope. Here's the old ones. This guy stay the same. Also, there's new Chosen. So that's the thing, right? That's the like, no, it has to be about the aesthetic and the old stuff. And yeah, just another point about, again, the kind of what they leaned into. So I'm sure they'll intend to release all that. So then we get into these cool things. This is part of the book I haven't really spent enough time on, and is a little bit. They have all these special rules on terrain, building armies, percentages. There's like lots of caveats actually when you get into it. There's actually a lot of like I was reading, like I was trying to, like, how do I build a Warriors of Chaos army in the Ravening Hordes book, and there was a lot of stuff about, like, you know, this unit, like, you can only take one, I don't know, I'm gonna make it up, maybe it's true, one hell cannon, and only one of this and one of that. So they've made strides to also police the game within the there's like army construction restrictions that I think is purposely there to limit some of the stuff. So here's a few other things I noticed. This one's interesting, and I'm assuming these are like official scenarios. These are the, you know, pitch battles here. Here's the pitch battle table. It threw me off because the first one said open battle, but no, this is what they call it. Game length. So this one has, oh, I see, this is the default scenario. So this one you can have fixed or random. I have a feeling most people, but here's what do they ask you? Players can choose to play, like, I mean, if you play match play, you have to probably tell people what they're going to do or roll off and decide. I don't know. That's a bit weird. Random at the end of the 5th round. Oh, okay, they do that escalating thing, but, you know, One of these was... Oh, here we go. Look at this one. There is no term limit. Instead, the battle will last until the side reaches its breakpoint. So this is the Blood and Glory equivalent. But it just... Like, it could just keep going. I guess in like real terms, when you play this game, it probably doesn't actually go 8-9 turns, but I guess it could. This one's 6 rounds, or until one side concedes. I concede. This one's 6 rounds, okay. So only a couple of them are weird. This one's random. Mountain Pass. Okay. Fixed or random for the... Yeah, okay. Maybe my brain was thinking it was... I thought... I read the one that had, like, no game end, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know, Tim. And then we get the lores, which look pretty cool, and then your, like, magic items and stuff like that, so... And then we got quick reference at the back here. So you can actually just photocopy this and use it, so... So overall, pretty nice book. I know I've rambled on a little bit. Final thoughts, like, you know, presentation-wise is pretty nice. It's not that 8th ed book that I showed you guys in terms of, like, just, like, everything being off the wall, done up to the nines, but still a very nice book. Actually, probably making it a little smaller at only 350 pages was good. I mean, it is mostly rules. Like, I think the our fluff section is what I'll say 90 pages to be generous. So the remaining, you know, 260 pages are all rules. So we'll have a little bit for the gallery. So anyway, yeah, just quick summary, some of my thoughts on some of the rules. When will I get to play this? I don't know. I've got to get an army together, and that's going to take some time. I've requisitioned some bases. I've ordered some models. I don't know when they'll arrive. I'm doing a Chaos army, so I've kind of got some modern Chaos warriors. I've got some knights in a box I'm going to use. I'll see if I can make new chosen work on 30 mil squares. We'll see. And probably start at 1,000 points or something. I've already heard some people muttering about, like, maybe playing 1,500 points. Or I'm not sure. There's a lot of... I think we'll find out. There's some... I think Warhammer World... There's some tournaments going on around the world the next couple months that I think will dictate an early meta for, like, army construction, how people are going to play. This reminds me of days when people would be like, how many points are we playing? Oh, we're playing 2250, which was always a random number, but it's because people felt that 2,000 points was a little restrictive, so they wanted... This was 8th edition. They wanted to play, you know, have a 2,000 point game with a little bit extra so they didn't feel so squeezed, so they could take all their fun units, things like that. So, yeah, so if you've read the book or gotten your hands on them, give us your opinions. What do you think? What do you like? What you don't like? And yeah, we'll catch you later. Thanks.